Thompson.
On the show today, we are heading to the Bay of Plenty to chat about this new exciting development for Barfoot and Thompson. Welcome to Property Matters. Welcome along to another Monday. Are you counting down to Easter? It's getting close. You get that nice long weekend coming up. Now, today we are absolutely delighted to be catching up with the team from Barfoot and Thompson's Bay of Plenty offices as they've expanded quite recently into the space and continuing to expand, and a wonderful chance for all our listeners, especially those with investment properties in the space, to catch up on what's happening in the market. Now, I'm joined in studio by Kevin, the area manager. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Stephen. Much appreciated to be here.
Great to have you here. And on the phone, I have the fabulous Louise and Ashley from the Tauranga office. Good afternoon, team.
Hi. Hi, Stephen.
And Brent from Omakaroa. Good afternoon to you.
G'day, Stephen. How are you?
Good, thank you. Now, I'm going to catch up first with Kevin, and then we'll have a chat to you guys in a second. So, Kevin, this has been an exciting journey for Barfoot and Thompson to sort of break what's been nearly 100 years staying put in the Auckland and Northland space.
That's exactly right. I mean, it's a culture of change, really, for instance, for this company. I mean, it's been 100 years, and then to just finally discover, for instance, that we're heading out of the Auckland area. So, and I've been basically pushing that for the last probably 5 or 6 years to try and make this happen. So,
yeah.
So here we have now, for instance, branches. We have branches that are actually now operating and in place and getting some decent market share. So it's great. Yeah.
Brilliant. So look, tell me a little bit about your experience that's led up to you being area manager in this space.
Yeah, obviously, for instance, it's a new role for the business. So my background has come purely, for instance, from the building sector. I've been involved in senior management, for instance, and setting up a number of companies over the years, involved names like Mitre 10, and I've also been a director, for instance, for flooring companies and paint bats. I was a marketing manager as well. So all good brands that have been out there.
All linked to housing.
All linked to housing, of course it is as well, for instance. So my experience there has been opening businesses throughout New Zealand, and been able, for instance, to develop, for instance, set up new stores. So the opportunity came along from Barfoot and Thompson's point of view and said, I think, hey, Kev, would love to have you on board to do this. So, which is fantastic, and it's an exciting venture we're doing right now.
It is. Talk about no pressure, though.
Oh yeah, well,
you've got to get this one right.
We know. For instance, the words were very clear, for instance, that this will succeed.
This will. Brilliant.
It will happen. Yeah.
So tell our listeners a little bit about your role as area manager. Obviously, we're going to chat in a second to our branch managers and our head of property management. What's your role looking after the space?
So I guess my role, for instance, when it was first created, was that I create the direction, for instance, of the business down in this part of the world of the Bay of Plenty. So when I say direction, for instance, I create a roadmap of where we think and we need to be as a business based on what's happening in the area, based on store location and getting those growth spots, for instance, where we're getting mum and dads and they see us and that. And also very broad, for instance, I'm involved with heavy sponsorship as well, for instance, a lot of the latest sports teams and groups down there. Education school side of it as well. I deal direct also with a lot of lawyers, solicitors, banks. So it's just getting the brand out there. We've never been there. It's first time. They know who we are.
I was going to say, it's such a trusted brand. I mean, I've got friends in Dunedin who, talk about Barfoot and Thompson. Well, we're not down that way, are they?
Sure.
So it is that trust. You mentioned the sponsorship. That's a big part of what Barfoot and Thompson's so well known for, is giving back to the community.
Absolutely.
Do you get to sort of drive how that looks in your area?
That's the intent, very much. We've got a fantastic sponsorship team, for instance, on board with their support office, and they also give me, for instance, a list of areas that they'd like to be involved in. We run through a lot of those. We run through which is going to be the best bang for our buck, for instance, to try and get some return. But it's also education. It's mum and dads, it's sports teams as well, and it can be down to the nippers as well as the adults as well. So and it's varied, but usual Barfoot and Thompson, you see them all the time. They're in sports teams, they're in everywhere. So and that's called that's just giving back as well.
Now, you've opened up with your office in Omokoroa and Tauranga, and then I understand today staff were informed at Barfoot and Thompson about your latest 2 branches at Mount Maunganui and Waihi Beach.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. That's these 2 were been on the books for some time, and I was very fortunate enough to, especially with the Mount Maunganui branch, I was very fortunate enough to pick up on this one. Virtually the first day it actually came out and was available, so I was on site. And it's now, for instance, we're just going through the process now. It's been signed off, as you know, for instance, now with you'll see the information being passed on. It's great. It's a good location. We're centre Mount Maunganui, 314 Maunganui Road is the address actually, and we're just going to love the location. So yeah.
Fantastic. All right, so Louise is branch manager of Tauranga and now Mount Maunganui. How are you feeling with all this expansion so quickly in your patch?
Oh, very excited, of course. We're absolutely thrilled to bits. And a bit like Kevin, I think we've been waiting patiently for this to happen for some time. So now we're really, really rapt that it's all happening and happening at a good pace as well.
So tell us your experience in real estate. Take us back. When did it all begin?
Yeah, so I've been in real estate for 10 years now. So I started at the St Heliers branch of Barfoot and Thompson as a salesperson. My background was always in the sales and marketing space, and for me it was a bit of a natural progression into real estate from that, which is good. And for me, I grew up in Tauranga, so for me, bringing Barfoot and Thompson down to the city where I grew up has been, just absolutely amazing for me. Really, really excited to see it happen.
That's cool. And you've got sales and property management, and we're going to catch up with Ashley shortly. Tell us a little bit about your current team and office.
Yeah, cool. So we've got a fantastic team. We've got about a team of about 8 in the property management space, and that side of the business has been down here operating for around 3 years now. So they're well entrenched in the Tauranga market, which is fantastic. The sales side of the business really launched officially on the 1st of November last year. And again, we're making really good traction in that space. We've had about 5 salespeople join us initially, and just of recent times we're up to about 10, and with more to come on board as well. So it's really lovely to see that sales and property management natural relationship be formed, and that's absolutely working really nicely now with our clients. We can look after both sides, which is brilliant.
What's the market doing at the moment in the Tauranga space?
Yeah, so definitely we do tend to follow the Auckland market, and it's quite similar. We're definitely seeing a lot of listings come onto the market now. So I think the latest look I saw was about 1,200 listings on Trade Me. So lots of stock coming on. We're certainly getting a feel that the buyers are keen to engage and are keen to buy as well. I think we're all aware that there's just that little dynamic of interest rates at the moment, but I think we're heading for some good times in the market sort of later this year and on to next.
Brilliant. All right, I'm going to bring Brent in here now. So, Brent, you're following in Louisa's footsteps here by adding on an extra branch announced today. How are we feeling expanding from Omokoroa to Waihi Beach as well?
Yeah, very exciting times. It's a little bit of a natural progression in our area. A little bit of an untapped market up through this area, really. I think Barfoot and Thompson have probably opened their eyes a little bit to the amount of business up in this area, so it's really cool that they've backed us 100% by buying us a branch up here to complement the Omokoroa run.
Brilliant. So when did your journey start? Because you're no stranger to the space.
Yeah, a little bit different, well, way different to Louise and Kevin. So I'm actually a Taranaki boy, born and bred. Lived there for 52 years, have just recently relocated full-time. Sold farms for McDonald Real Estate for about 14 years, and I'm quite proud to say that I've been with Barfoot and Thompson. I've actually had the privilege of working for the 2 oldest real estate companies, both family-owned in New Zealand. McDonald Real Estate 110 years and Barfoot and Thompson 100 years.
That's cool.
I was very privileged to get to know Peter Thompson through the New Zealand Realtors Network, through Peter McDonald, and knew they were about to open over in Bay of Plenty, and I owned with the blessing of Peter McDonald, owned a little boutique real estate company over here, but was sort of struggling to get traction. And then knowing that Barfoot and Thompson were going to open, I absolutely love the company. I've had a lot to do with them over the years. We've attended functions with Barfoot and Thompson for many years, and from the outside in, I thought I've got to be a part of this. So I was a little bit cheeky, so I picked up the phone and rang Peter Thompson and said, would you like to buy my business? And he said, him and Stephen signed off and said, well, yes, we would, but only if you stayed on. So
brilliant.
1st of November.
Win-win.
Yeah, win-win. Bit of a rush, but yeah, we got there.
Now, I asked Louise about the market in Tauranga, what you're sort of covering a much more rural area. What's that looking like at the moment?
Yeah, so I'll talk the Makaroa market first. That's a little bit slow. Once, like Louise, there's lots of listings coming on board. We are making traction, but the old interest rates do sort of hamper that down a little bit. Waihi Beach would probably be in the same basket, although it is quite a sought-after location, so the high-end stuff does still sell quite well. We also sell a lot in the Waihi Township, and that market, sort of below that $700,000 market, it does actually sell quite well. Rural, we are slowly making some traction there. We've actually just taken on 2 rural salespeople. They will be hitting the ground sort of running around about 1st of June, and I'm looking to take on another 2 or 3 as well across the bay. So I'm lucky that bit of a strategy that Louise and I work very closely together. She handles all the rentals. We look after her just by passing business along, and she does the same for rural. So we stick to our knitting, basically. I'm a rural lad. That's what I know.
Brilliant, love it, and that's how it should work. Kevin, the area of Bay of Plenty, I mean, it is quite diverse, but, you know, years ago it was the place people used to say, go and buy there to retire. It was the retirement capital, although I think, you know, Winston played a part in that message as well. But it's not now. It's so vibrant, and it's such a mix. It really does suit everyone.
It's changed. You're right. I mean, you're seeing, for instance, places like Papamoa. You know, Papamoa, for instance, was very much a case of, you know, you'd go to retire. For instance, retirement villages. The retirement village has been crazy over the years, for instance, down there. But we're seeing, for instance, a big change, for instance, when you're looking at, like I said, Papamoa down far east Papamoa. The development, the young families that are coming on board, there's a lot of work involved in those areas now, for instance, and there's employers that actually, there's companies that are going down there and establishing their business from that location now. That's the big change. Of course, the port's a big part of Tauranga, and that's very busy all the time. So, you know, we are seeing a real change. Mum and dads, for instance, are coming down with their young families. It's really, really great. We're also seeing the retirees, for instance, going to smaller properties as well.
Right.
So there's a real turn starting to happen there, and that's not happened before. We're seeing the start of it, I think. I think, listen to what Louise said before about the market. I think next year, for instance, maybe quite a busy year for us going forward. So that's good. Yeah.
My childhood was spent jumping on the bus. What was the bus? The wonderful blue buses that used to go back and forward. I forgot.
Bay hoppers.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And travelling down and working on family farms and orchards in Bethlehem.
Yep.
And for as far as the eye could see, Bethlehem was just orchards. You know, you go back now in Bethlehem, Papamoa, it's housing divisions, it's big, massive retirement complexes. The landscape has changed.
Yes.
Do you think more and more Aucklanders will get that feel that actually this is a good place to invest in, to live in, because it is quite tough to do that here in Auckland at the moment?
Absolutely. You know, the thing is, if you're looking at actually bang for your buck for buying property, you know, places even like where Brent is in Makaroa, there's some really good buying in that location. You've got water views. I mean, Makaroa is basically on a peninsula, and there's a lot of great buying down there. So Aucklanders are starting to realise that that's the place that they want to be. Also, for instance, in Tauranga and the Papamoa region, you can be a stone throw from the beach and still get something incredibly cheaper than Auckland.
Yeah.
And that's what people are starting to realise, and it's just growing so quickly. And I guess from our point of view, it's been there. They recognise us, they know who we are, and hopefully we'll get some business from that. So, yeah.
Now, speaking of business, you've got the property management side. So if I bring Ashley in now, looking after the rental side, Ashley, are you finding the amount of people buying from an investment point of view growing, and you're getting more and more rentals in this space?
Oh, we slowly are. We are finding the same. Investors are buying more so down here, especially our Auckland ones. A lot of our investors do live in Auckland, which is great for me because I come from Auckland as well.
Now,
yes, it's definitely getting up there.
Barfoot and Thompson are well known for managing rentals, over 20,000 properties that they look after, or tenancies. So talk a little bit about your journey in the property management space, and why should we trust our investment to you, Ashley?
So I've worked in Auckland for Barfoot and Thompson Henderson for the past 8 years, and I've worked down here for the last 2 years. So I've spent 10 years with Barfoot and Thompson, predominantly in Auckland. So I do know a little bit about property. I can't say absolutely everything because it's ever changing, but majority of the things I do know. And prior to that, I have worked in the mental health and addiction space. So that's just helped me really expand my knowledge with people of all walks of life.
Yeah, that's cool. That certainly does open the door to dealing with anybody. Why do you think people should get their property managed professionally by an agent like yourself, rather than, mum and dad investor thinking they can do it themselves? What are the pitfalls?
Most of the time it is when you get either family friends that move into the property. It is really hard when you have that relation and to tell them that they owe rent or that their house isn't clean enough. That does cause conflict and relationship breakdowns. That's one of the big things that we find. And also when things get too much and you don't know what to do, and that's what we're trained to do. That's what we're here for. We have a massive training academy dedicated to training our staff and upskilling us. And when you do fall down, that's what we find, that people do start to come to us to fix their problems, and then they're very happy with our service from there on because we know what we're doing.
And I guess getting the tenant right in the first place is one of the keys. Talk us through some of the things you do to help ensure that you've got the best tenant for an investor.
Absolutely. So it does go off personality a lot of the time. When you meet them, you have to know that you are going to relate with that person. You can communicate with them. Communication is one of the biggest things that we find. Whether even it's a bad tenant, as long as you can still communicate through to them, you'll find yourself in a really good outcome in the end. But of course, you want to find good tenants. You never want to find a bad tenant because you do have to deal with them the whole time. We do full comprehensive credit checks, background checks, which includes Ministry of Justice, police checks if necessary. That's all asked in our pre-screening, I suppose, that we can do that. We do have reference checks, and again, the full comprehensive breakdown with everything there.
Now, if an investor's listening from anywhere in the country thinking, is this a space I want to buy a rental property in, what it fetches the best return? I mean, is it the 3-bedroom brick and tile with a dishwasher and a garage like it is in Auckland, or is it a little bit different in the Bay of Plenty?
There are lots of new builds, and of course the attractiveness that comes with that is having the 10-year master build. Like everyone has said, we've got Papa Mokaroa and our Impai's Pa, which are all quite new areas, quite new properties that do come with those. So they are easier to look after, especially for an investor. They don't have to do a lot of work. They get really good return for their investment as well. But in Tauranga itself, we have a lot of older properties, which a lot of people still love. They love the character of the properties. So it is a really mix of what you're going to find. I think either one is going to get you a good return down here.
Brilliant. All right. Thank you, Ashley. I'm going to go around the table now and ask a few questions of everybody to sort of chip in. And the first one, Kevin, if I kick it off with you, building a team is obviously an important part as you're going to grow and expand. Sure. What do you reckon makes a good sales agent? And I'm going to ask Brent and Louise to comment as well. What makes a good sales agent?
A good sales agent is someone, for instance, who's just got a personality and happy to talk to people. That alone, for instance, is that the biggest barrier, the biggest breakdown. For instance, if you're able to communicate at any level, doesn't matter where you're from or what you're from, as long as you can communicate. That's crucial. And it's just, feeling confident in yourself. And that's one of the things that we can teach a lot of things at the same time. But I think you pick up pretty quickly, for instance, when someone's fairly confident with themselves and able to talk to anybody. As I always say, for instance, if you're able to put several hats on at different times, and it's based on personalities, for instance, and if you can do that, for instance, trust me, you make a very good agent, for instance, but it can be a tough gig sometimes.
Brent, is it the same for you, or do you look for anything different in a rural salesperson?
Oh, definitely. Rural is completely different to residential. But I think that the core thing along the communication lines, but to add on to that, is that if they don't like you, they're not going to list with you.
Yeah.
So that is number one. And if you can't get over that barrier, then it doesn't matter what you say, they're not going to list with you.
I mean, is it a case in, some of the smaller sort of country towns where, everybody knows everyone? There's a huge amount of trust needed, isn't there, to sort of list with somebody that knows now your insides and outsides of your property world?
Definitely. Look, honestly, the trust is the biggest thing. So, they've got to like you, they've got to trust you, and to gain that trust, you have to have an exceptional reputation with the professionals, especially in rural. The first port of call for anybody selling in rural, as it should be, and as I always advise them, is come and talk to your accountant and your solicitor and or your trustee, and if they have the trust in your ability, then you will get the listing. So reputation is everything to me, and doing the right thing by people. So that's that whole building that trust with those professionals when they know that their client's multi-million-dollar property is in the trust of somebody they trust.
Fair comment. Louise, what about you? If you're looking for any new team members, and you've got them in and they're doing the interview with you, how do you work out if this is somebody for your office?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. I mean, I think what Brent touched on is absolutely right. Doing the right thing is number one, really, above and beyond everything else. We want to get people on board who really, really care about their clients, their vendors, all their buyers, or their tenant or the landlord, whoever it is that we're dealing with. We want to make sure we get people who really, really care about the people that they're working for. So that's number one. I think the other thing with anyone involved in, especially residential or sales side, is that they do need to have a really good level of self-motivation. It's one of those things where a lot of people get surprised, especially if they've come from a corporate background. There's not going to be anyone sitting there at the office necessarily at 8:30 in the morning saying, you need to be here. It comes down to the individual salesperson to be motivated internally to say, I need to get up, get out the door, get dressed for the day, talk to these people, do what I need to do to get my individual business within this amazing brand off the ground and up and running. So those are probably the key things I look for when having chat to people about joining the team.
I'm not sure who will answer this one, but is there still sort of the magic number of, you need an X amount of savings before you come into this because you are going to need to have a little while till you get your first pay packet?
Yeah, I think it's, well, you can answer it either way, but I think it's the reality is that I think it's if you're coming in new, fresh into the business, for instance, you need to have a bit of resource behind you. It's never going to, like I said before, it's not going to be an easy gig from day one, but it's certainly, for instance, once you get going, for instance, you start to realise what it's all about.
The rewards are there,
rewards.
And the independence, yeah.
Correct, yeah.
Louise, advice for people selling. If someone's listening now, we get a lot of people listen who are about to put their house on the market. Obviously, advice number one is to come to you guys, but what is it that people can do to get their home ready?
Yeah, I think engage a quality salesperson from my team, or our team, the Barfoot and Thompson team, early. I think it's really important to have that conversation early so that you're not sort of stressed out and short on time. I think a lot of benefit goes into getting the property really ready to hit the market. So having those conversations early, understanding what could happen around the home in terms of maintenance to give it a good spruce up. Is it a house wash? Is it painting that fence that's a bit tired at the front? doing the gardening, and then internally as well, big clean. And then if it's some properties really benefit from staging and others don't need it. But yeah, getting on early, getting that advice from the qualified and experienced salesperson early is a really good one. And then, yeah, making sure you've got a really good time frame organised. The team will always sit down with our prospective vendors, talk through what a good marketing campaign will look like in terms of any costs involved and the time frame for marketing, and that involves, when the open homes will be. And we really sit down and tailor a marketing campaign, both in terms of what the marketing materials might be, as well as what the marketing method might be, whether we're talking about auction or price. And our team will sit down, discuss the pros and cons of each option, and work with our clients depending on what their individual circumstances are like. It's really important to have that one-on-one personalised service and that conversation, just to make sure it really works for, like I said, each of our client situations, because no two homes are the same, and certainly no two vendors or what they're trying to achieve, whether it's downsizing, upsizing, moving overseas. It's quite a unique situation. So it really does need to be a personalised service one-on-one. And I love to see the team get out there, and I love to be involved in those conversations as well. And to make sure we get it right,
What about preparing for an open home? What can we do to get our house ready for the onslaught?
So all those things I've mentioned, definitely all the landscaping or gardening, big tidy up there, always walking up to the entrance of a home and having a little spot check there to see, does the front door need a bit of a clean, does the concrete need a water blast, the fence need a water blast, all those things. And then I'm a big fan of the internal presentation as well. So I'm a big fan for making sure the house smells nice. So we've got reed diffusers.
I was going to say, are we still baking bread and putting the coffee on?
Yeah, I think
it does work.
There's certainly lots of owners who still bake the cookies and it smells like that. So that's a beautiful thing as well. But fresh flowers. We love to give our vendors a bouquet of flowers before their first open home, so that they have that ready to go. So that's a nice little added extra to make sure their house looks and smells beautiful for their first open home. So all those little touches, they absolutely make a huge difference when it comes to hopefully getting the buyers through the door and those first impressions as well.
Brilliant. Brent, is it similar for a rural property? Or are we baking bread, or are we putting the gumboots out? What are we doing for a rural property before an open home and just getting it ready to market?
Yeah, no, very, very similar, but completely different. Certainly getting it ready. So I've often said to the vendor, the first 100 metres of the farm is critical. If you drive onto a farm, and I'll just use a dairy farm as an example, the cow shed's nice and tidy, all the battens on the tanker track are straight, and the first 100 metres, there's no gates falling off, anything like that. Everything's water blasted, everything looks clean and tidy. The purchaser will forgive things further down the farm. Okay, so that's critical. I think being prepared, and interesting, the residential, and listening to Louise as well, but the residential versus the rural, totally different timeframes. A good rural agent will know his clients 2 to 3 years out. So when I was selling, I was actively, I could actually go back and show you stats of, I was talking to this farmer 2 years ago or 3 years ago. So you're actually a big part of their life for a long time. And it's about giving honest, trustworthy advice. And I will say that's why Barfoot and Thompson appealed to me, along with McDonald Real Estate. You're dealing with people's lives. You've got to remember that at all times. And Peter McDonald's most famous, the day I started, the first thing he said to me, he said, "Brent, you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them in the correct proportion."
Brilliant, love it. Kevin, you mentioned earlier, you were networking with, lawyers, solicitors, that sort of thing. How important is it for both Louise, Brent and yourself to really grow that network?
It's massive.
Yeah.
From our point of view, it's hence I might be at the sharp end, for instance, trying to talk to these the lawyers and solicitors. But it's really important, for instance, the relationship that comes back into the branches, and of course the agents who also have a relationship with the solicitors and lawyers and the banks, because that's where we start building confidence in that marketplace, and that's what we're trying to do right now. So, and that's starting to happen. It really is, and we're finding, for instance, that we've got luncheons with different people, coffees with different people on a regular basis, just to sort of fly the flag. It's important they know that we're in town, and also, for instance, to know that our expansion program is that what we're doing going forward, and why we come down to this part of the world. And they feel more confident when they're talking to their clients. They're able to go, hey, look, you should try Barfoot and Thompson, and that's what we want going forward.
You mentioned sponsorship, so each branch looks after sort of their own sponsorship. Then are you looking after area sponsorship as well?
Yeah, so the branches have the right to be able to do their own sponsorship in regards to schools, sports clubs, and all that. My role is basically a little bit larger. I'm going for the bigger events. We do a thing called the 5-course Golf Classic, which is quite a common thing down there. We've got a couple of bigger ones that I can't announce on over the radio that are also coming on which will be fantastic for the new year. So and that's and it's just strategically looking where it's best for us to be able to get something, for instance, and support, for instance, the communities. Yeah,
brilliant. Brent, what are some of sort of the organisations you're supporting out in your way?
Definitely the schools and the sports clubs. I am a little bit biased in that I played football and I played soccer to the general public for 46 years. Have been involved in a governance level on a trust for football. So a Mokoroa Football Club, yes, certainly pushing into that area. Not forgetting anybody else. We're looking, got a meeting coming up with one of the local rugby clubs, basically all the schools in across the Mokoroa and up to Waihi Beach area. Still got a lot of work to do in that space, I will say, but it's one of the nice little things we've just done recently is actually supported the Mokoroa Point School by buying a sort of really cool, this aligns with our new strategy, 50-year strategy that the directors put in place. We bought a robotic building kit for the Mokoroa Point School. So that sort of ties in with the technology that Barfoot and Thompson push and the leadership around that. And that's quite special to do that sort of stuff and be in that position to make some calls. And but yeah, I love that sort of thing. Anything to do with kids and sports, yeah, bring it on.
Awesome. And your kids are your future salespeople too. It's getting them hooked in. Louise, similar for you?
Yeah, similar for me, Stephen. Absolutely keen to support the schools where we can and sports teams. I think I'm also really keen, fortunate. I've got a fantastic team of obviously salespeople and property managers who are all involved in their own unique areas, whether it's surf schools or whatever it is along the coast. So really try and get alongside the salespeople, property managers in terms of what they're involved in, where their children might be at, and certainly look where we can support and get involved in those aspects as well.
Brilliant. All right, I'm going down the line now. Kevin, long-term goals. Where are we at? What's the future looking like for Bay of Plenty? If I interviewed you in 5 years' time, you're going to sit in here and tell me what?
Long-term goals. Well, we're basically the roadmap that I created, for instance, some months ago. We've diverged quite a bit already. So, and I've just said in 5 years' time. And look, we want to be fairly well established in the Bay of Plenty region. That's a given for us. And then we will definitely open more branches around through the area. That just takes time, as you'd appreciate, for instance, because it's been a location which are going to work for the company. And we'll obviously bring in more branch managers at the same time, and also more salespeople. So, in 5 years' time, I want to be able to have a sort of a saturation of the Bay of Plenty, for instance, in a good location. It may expand beyond that. I think it may even go, for instance, further into the Coromandel in time, but that's what happens here. So, that's the roadmap at the moment. Yeah.
Nice. And Louise, for you, sort of at a branch level for Tauranga and the Mount, what's your sort of goals for the next few years?
Yeah, great. That's a great question. Look, certainly to have a really good core group of established salespeople up and running. Like I said before, we've got good numbers coming on board now, but it's great to get them all onboarded, get them settled in and into their new spaces. Look, we've certainly got space in that Mount office to take on a good number of extra salespeople, so that will be a focus for me. And then certainly with the property management space as well, we've got a lot of room to grow in that area. I'd like to see us in 5 years' time being market leaders in both that property management space and sales amongst those areas I'm working in anyway. So lots of work to be done, but very exciting times for us as well.
Nice. And Brent, similar for you?
Yeah, very, very similar. Look, we're lucky we've got a really good core team at the moment. I think I'll probably grow that by another 25% in time, and especially in the rural space, I would like to push hard in that area over time. In no immediate hurry at the moment. I mean, it's a take small bites stage, so cement the team, keep it going, we're doing well, but we've got to prove ourselves along the way. So don't want to drop the ball, to be fair, on anything, Stephen. So just sort of slow things down a little bit at times and make sure we're doing the right thing by everybody.
Brilliant. Now, Ashley, lots of changes taking place in the property management space with, each week a little new nugget or announcement from the government as we're sort of slowly moving towards some changes. Anything sort of grabbing your attention at this stage that you think investors should be aware of?
Oh, definitely. I mean, we do have the bright line that will definitely change a little bit, along with the new tax deductibility coming in. That will be in April 2024, 1st of April 2024. That comes back in for, I think it was 80% for 2023 to 2024, and then back to 100% by 2025, which will be fantastic for all those investors looking to come back into the market, or the ones that already are in the market.
Now, there's a real push for the 90-day termination, sort of no reason rule to come back in. Where are you sitting with that one?
Look, I think when they removed that, I think it did create a lot of angst with the landlords as well. They do own their own homes. That is their investment. It is their money. So I do understand that circumstance. And I do believe they should be able to have who they want in their home. Maybe even extending it out, instead of having a 90-day, have 120 days without a reason, and 90 days with a reason. But then that, that's obviously not a thing, but it could be.
Yeah.
But also, I do feel for some that do get 90 days without a reason, just because it's purely the landlords don't like them.
I mean, up here we've had people on the show talk about it from a real safety point of view of, it's sometimes actually not safe to sort of go back and forward and do the antisocial behaviour and all of that. It is safer to simply give a 90-day notice. Do you feel that as well?
I do believe that. I mean, I was around when the shootings did happen up north as well. So it is a massive safety concern going into properties that you feel uncomfortable going into. And I do believe there should be some more legislation around when a property manager does feel unsafe, property manager, landlord, owner, when they feel unsafe going into a property. I do think there should be more legislation around that area.
And regulation? Talks are, still in play around moving to a regulated industry like many countries around the world. Do you see that as providing a safer option for our landlords?
Oh, definitely. I think having that, I mean, salespeople have to have a licence. I do think property managers should also have to have a licence. It goes hand in hand, I believe, and I think it'll be a lot safer instead of any person being able to manage a property. It should be a qualified property manager, definitely.
Brilliant. Now, we've got only a couple of minutes left. Kevin, how will you measure success in this area?
Very good question. Well, basically, it's happening already. I mean, we're doing it with sales day by day. It's market share. That's our biggest. That's how I would be measuring. This would be market share. And in 2 years' time, for instance, I've got a number in my mind, and I know the company will as well. That's the other thing. But it's going to be. But I think it's also where we come to. I think we've got to remember this very, very quickly is that we only started this on the 1st of November, and where we are now, it's quite impressive, very impressive. For instance, so this we're moving pretty quick. And but it's definitely a market share for me.
So if people are listening tonight and thinking they want to invest in the space, they want to sell through Barfoot and Thompson, they want to come and work for you, do they head to the Barfoot website as sort of the best place to go and find everybody's contact details?
Yeah, it is. Go into the web page, of course, and or even just look up Cherrywood, Omakaroa, and there will be the mount. That's the way to go. For instance, Facebook as well, same time. The team are doing a great job on that. So we're definitely visible on that area. Yep.
Brilliant. Team training at Waihi Beach, will it be?
It will be fantastic.
That's got to be the brand. Oh, well, I suppose you've got the mount as well.
The mount's pretty good.
Hey, I want to thank you all so much for giving up your Monday afternoon to come and chat to us. It's really exciting to hear what's happening in the Bay of Plenty region. If anyone's listening, jump onto barfoot.co.nz. All their contact details are there. But Louise and Ashley, thank you very much.
Thank you, David, for having us.
Great having you. Brent, thanks so much. You can put the gumboots on and head home.
Thanks, mate. No problem at all.
And Kevin, much appreciated. Thanks for coming into the studio today. I appreciate you coming up.
Lovely being here, for instance. Really excited about the venture going forward. So, yeah, it's good.
Brilliant. Awesome. Next week, we have the CEO of realestate.co.nz to have a chat about the market all around the country. Don't forget, you can download our podcasts on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple and Samsung, or wherever you like to get your podcasts. Have a fantastic week. Drive safe, and we'll catch you next week. Cheers.